I started the puberty blockers at age 11 and hormones when I was 12.
She's one of the first to have undergone complete pubertal suppression and lack of growth of the skin and other tissues, which we rely on as surgeons to do this operation. I was just not expecting her to have a complication as severe as what she did have.
So, guys, welcome back to the channel. So, this is a clip I found somebody put together about Jazz and the complications. I want to talk about the complications of the surgery. So, let's watch a little bit more of this clip.
The wounds were definitely separating, and she formed like a blister. Like it's almost like a blood blister.
As we were getting her on the bed, I felt something go pop. And when I looked, the whole thing had just split open. So the dehiscence on the outside, it was bad. She really was under so much tension that it created these large wounds. So we took a little bit of a skin graft from the other side of her groin, which we didn't use before, and I just put that in over the open wounds, repacked the vagina, and we covered everything up.
The mere fact that when you hear these people say we packed the vagina, it's already despotic. It's already bizarre. So what happens is with these surgeries, and I'm going to get a little graphic here. So this is a bit of a trigger warning. You know, there's a lot of slicing that happens. There's a lot of slicing in layers, folding over, pushing in. There's a lot of cutting off, folding over, pushing in, sewn back together. And then the urethra has to, while that's happening, has to be placed appropriately, whatever that means. And then there's a hollow hole that's left for I guess for intercourse. Because not for anything else. You're not going to have a period or anything like that. And I can't even talk about this in real terms because I'm very literal with my terms. I want people to understand why I'm so literal with my terms is because as a nurse, I've been programmed this way. Like, as you always think about, what if when you're documenting the depositions, you're in court, are you going to remember what you said? You have to make sure it sounds exactly how you want it to be. So I've just kind of been programmed this way. So now what you need to understand is that they can't go too far when they do the opening. They have to be very careful because if they put it too close, it can actually cause what's called a fistula, where there becomes an opening into the rectal cavity, into the colon, and then you have bowel that goes out the other direction, or the wound will constantly smell like feces. So this is the reality that I don't know if they tell people. Now, after they do the surgery, they have to place a dilator inside because that cavity will close up. It's like when you pierce your ear, but worse, but it will close up. So but then they'll tell you like, oh yeah, the vagina looks beautiful. No, it doesn't. There's a bunch of stitching and there's something sticking out of it, and then there's a Foley that's placed. They're not going to be able to urinate right away because of the anesthesia and all the reconstruction that they've done. What they say when you hear the word wound dehiscence, if a wound opens up, that's what's called dehiscence. More than likely the wound will open up. When you hear the mom saying, oh my God, it opened up, and then the doctor's like, something popped. Yeah, because first of all, it's already bad enough the body's trying to go back to normal. Like the body knows, the cells know, like, I'm attached to something that I'm not necessarily supposed to be attached to. And that's why you start to have separation. Also, too, like they said, Jazz was on puberty blockers for a long time. Jazz was the first child to be on puberty blockers as long as he was. That's why Jazz has that look, that very kiddish look to him, just very freaky. So they didn't have much tissue to work with. So Jazz had to go back and get that surgery done about 4 times. There was an 18-year-old boy who died when Collins tried to create a vagina for him using part of his colon. His colon was used because puberty blockers stopped growth of his genitals, which meant there wasn't enough tissue to do penile inversion surgery. That is what happens. A lot of these people, they want to start these kids with puberty blockers immediately, and then they want to do surgery on them. What happens is that the child, okay, I'm not playing devil's advocate in any fashion, but I just want to explain what they might think happens. That maybe this kid, if they start puberty blockers at a young age, they don't get a chance to realize what it is to feel like a male. And so then they can also now just go ahead and do slicing and dicing, and it won't affect the child psychologically. It still will affect the child psychologically. Absolutely, it will. Because this is not natural. This is not. The whole journey is a psychological journey. What happens is nobody dealt with the root cause issue of why a child would want to do this. Who put this in this child's head? How did we get here? What is it, in fact, that the child is lacking or feeling hurt about? Why do they not feel sure of themselves? They're adolescents. Most of us didn't, and that's normal. But instead, we feed them delusions, and then we take them to permanent decisions that they don't know what they're getting into. And if it's not affecting them right away, it will affect them at some point in their life. Jazz right now will fight to say that he's okay. He's like, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm happy. Trust me, this is not happiness. First of all, that word is very loaded and superficial at the same time. Jazz never got the chance to really understand what was going on with him as a child, and a big decision was made. It's all said and done, and the dust settles, and the lights and cameras are off, and Jazz is older and still alone. Jazz will be left with a very inconvenient truth. I don't wish any harm on this person. I don't, but it is the reality.